Picture the Senate floor, silence so heavy it practically vibrates. The presiding officer poses the question that could shake the entire political establishment. Members of the Senate, what is your verdict? Guilty or not guilty? The responses come one after another, creating a rhythm that feels almost surreal. Not guilty, guilty, not guilty, guilty. Mr. Daines responds, not guilty. Ms. Duckworth answers, guilty. Mr. Durbin states, guilty. Mr. Enzai declares, not guilty. This back and forth creates an almost hypnotic pattern, like watching history unfold in real time. The clerk continues the roll call for the first impeachment article. Mr. Alexander says not guilty. Ms. Baldwin responds guilty. Mr. Barrasso answers not guilty. But here's what most people don't realize right away. This wasn't even the actual Senate trial yet. This was the House of Representatives wrestling with whether to even launch another impeachment inquiry. And here's what should make everyone sit up and pay attention. 140 House members just voted yes on moving impeachment proceedings forward. Let that sink in. We're not talking about a small group of partisan warriors making symbolic noise. We're talking about nearly 1/3 of the entire House saying the president needs to face serious consequences. And this is happening right as the 2026 election cycle starts gaining momentum. The political battlefield just went from complicated to absolutely explosive. Texas Representative Al Green has become the relentless engine behind this movement. Throughout the last 12 months, he's filed multiple impeachment resolutions, each one targeting different controversial actions from the Trump administration. Whether it's overstepping executive authority or bypassing congressional approval on military matters, Green keeps pushing. But this latest push has a specific trigger. Green's making the case that Trump has made political violence feel normal, even acceptable. Last night, he publicly demanded Trump's impeachment for threatening judges and calling for congressional executions. He argues that if anyone deserves impeachment, it's Donald Trump. Green acknowledges the resistance, noting that plenty of people want nothing to do with impeachment votes. He compares it to those who were afraid to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge during the Civil Rights Movement, but they marched anyway, Hez declaring he'll march forward no matter what. His core argument centers on how Trump's supposedly created an atmosphere where intimidating elected officials has become almost routine. The president's language, whether you call it exaggeration or stochastic messaging, has allegedly empowered followers to step over boundaries previously considered sacred. Lawmakers from both parties have received credible threats. Some require additional security details just to do their jobs safely, when sitting members of Congress need bodyguards because they voiced opinions that's not politics as usual. That reality is precisely why 140 lawmakers decided this was worth fighting for. Technically, House leadership tabled the resolution, preventing immediate advancement. Democratic leaders like Hakeem Jeffries weren't prepared to go all in on impeachment without careful consideration. The political calculations are tricky, especially when moderates could get caught in the crossfire. But the sheer volume of support signals something crucial has shifted. This movement has broken out of the fringe zone. Even representatives from competitive swing districts took the risk, which reveals how seriously they view the situation. That decision carries weight. Now imagine what happens if the House actually passes impeachment articles. The Senate gets trapped between two terrible options. They can hold a comprehensive trial and endure the political explosion, or they can attempt to bury it quickly and face accusations of protecting presidential misconduct. Either path leads through a minefield. A full trial dominates media coverage for months, forces Republican senators to defend Trump's actions publicly, and basically freezes the legislative calendar. Alternatively, rushing through or dismissing the charges creates the perception that the Senate values party allegiance over constitutional duty. Republicans have spent weeks offering conflicting defenses of Trump, seemingly designed to create confusion rather than clarity. Some observers suggest these senators lack either the creativity or the drive to pursue anything beyond their current positions. For many, serving in the Senate represents the pinnacle of their ambitions. They'll protect their seats at almost any cost. This creates an impossible situation that could fundamentally alter the dynamics heading into the next election cycle. The historical background adds important context. Al Green didn't just discover impeachment as a tool yesterday. Earlier this year, he attempted to hold Trump accountable for alleged abuse of presidential authority and foreign policy violations. Initially, support was minimal. But as Trump's language intensified, with references to imprisoning political rivals and inflammatory remarks about lawmakers, Green's warnings about normalized violence started resonating differently. That's what makes the recent surge to 140 votes so remarkable. This connects to a larger story Democrats are constructing beyond impeachment. There are allegations involving Epstein connections, questionable use of government resources benefiting political allies, and various corruption accusations. These elements combine to create an image of an administration functioning without meaningful oversight or accountability. Green and his supporters argue impeachment isn't just political maneuvering. It's Congress exercising its constitutional obligation to establish boundaries on executive authority. The institutional integrity is what's actually at stake. You might be asking yourself whether any of this actually matters in practical terms. History shows that impeachment doesn't automatically lead to removal from office. Trump weathered 2 previous impeachment processes without conviction. But even without removal, the process creates a permanent record. Every single vote gets documented. Every senator and representative goes on the record with their position, and that documentation has consequences. It influences how the public views their elected officials. It applies pressure to lawmakers who might prefer to avoid taking a stance. It commands the news cycle precisely when campaign season is accelerating. Some Republicans are probably hoping quietly that the House never actually passes articles, sparing them from making an impossible choice. Others will publicly characterize the entire process as nothing but partisan performance art. However, with Green preparing to introduce additional articles before the year ends, and with momentum clearly building, ducking the confrontation might no longer be feasible. When the Senate eventually confronts the trial, the stakes couldn't be higher. Political futures, public confidence in government, and the fundamental distribution of power all hanging in the balance. Here's the element most people overlook. Even if Trump never gets removed from office, impeachment itself sends a powerful message. It establishes that threatening elected officials and overreaching presidential authority represents an unacceptable line crossing. It compels voters to pay attention when they might otherwise tune out. And as we approach the 2026 elections, attention translates directly into political influence. Democrats are banking on keeping these controversies prominent in public consciousness, believing it will motivate voters and spotlight Trump's behavioral patterns. Simultaneously, Trump has proven remarkably skilled at weaponizing impeachment for his own purposes. His core supporters mobilize when he positions himself as the target of partisan persecution. That's the gamble Democrats are taking. If they can't communicate their message effectively, this could backfire spectacularly and energize his base even further. But with 140 members already committed, this effort carries genuine credibility. It's not a handful of voices shouting into emptiness anymore. Here's why this should matter to everyone. Paying attention. This transcends typical news cycle drama. This is fundamentally about whether Congress retains the ability to constrain a president who tests constitutional limits in unprecedented ways. It's about accountability mechanisms, the boundaries of executive power, and whether threatening lawmakers becomes just another normalized aspect of American politics. It's about the health of democratic institutions themselves and whether we possess the collective will to defend them. So prepare yourself over the coming months. Expect more articles of impeachment introduced, more votes tallied, and the Senate forced into extremely difficult decisions. Whether this results in conviction or acquittal, the process itself will disrupt the political landscape, shape public opinion, and establish the framework for 2026. Al Green is spearheading this campaign, and Trump continues deploying the rhetoric that sparked this crisis. The rest of Congress is desperately trying to navigate through a political danger zone. The bottom line is this: 140 House members voted to pursue impeachment. That number is massive. It signals that critical boundaries have been violated, and the legislative branch is attempting to reassert its constitutional authority. How the Senate ultimately responds, how Trump's supporters react, and how voters interpret these events will determine the next chapter in American political history. It's chaotic, it's intense, and it's nowhere near finished. And if you're tracking this situation, pay close attention to the floor debates, the public statements, and the media coverage. Every vote counts. Every declaration matters. Every procedural maneuver carries significance. This isn't a theatrical performance for entertainment value. This is a constitutional confrontation with genuine consequences for the nation's future. If this analysis provided clarity, I'd appreciate your subscription. Thanks for watching.